Hey, you guys, how is everybody? I'm a little late joining you today, but hey, I'm here. And I've got a word today on patience for you. So, who struggles to be patient? Okay. I know it's a good topic, isn't it? I'm sitting out here on the front porch. It is absolutely beautiful here today. And so I thought I would just come out here and talk to you. Look, let me show you. So I've got all my stuff. Look, I'm ready for fall. I'm so ready for fall. So I just kind of set my stuff up out here on my nice little porch. So I'm hanging out with you. Anyway, I don't see anybody jumping on, so I'm going to just go ahead and get started. Say hey to me as you do. But I wanted to talk to you about patience today because, well, I think everybody needs to understand. I'm not going to say that we want to ask the Lord for a test or a teaching on patience, because those that have to walk through that, it is not fun. And so that's not something you want to actively pray for unless you are prepared for what might be coming. Anyway, a couple of the people in the Bible we could really talk about and patience and what they had to learn was Abraham. Abraham was promised so much. He was promised that he would have so many children, that all of these nations would be under his name. And yet, how could he do that? He had no children. He had never had a child, and God promised him, and gosh, he was like 100 years old. Do y'all know that? He was 100 years old when he had his first child. And that was Ishmael. But then came Isaac. And there are so many nations because of Abraham, and God promised it all to him, but he had to wait. And don't you think he questioned, like, this doesn't make any sense. How in the world can I be the father of many nations when I don't even have my own kid? And to be 100 years old when he finally has his child, and of course his wife Sarah did not trust, and so she took it in her own hands, and she sent Abraham to her maidservant, and that's how he has Ishmael. But God intended for him to have his own child with Sarah, and so she bore Isaac. And I think he had to wait a long time, and to be patient and to sit and to wait. Over the weekend, we had a chance, Philip and I had a chance to go to Tennessee. We had not been out together for 3 years on our own. We had not taken any type of trip or anything for 3 years by ourselves. And so we ventured out to Tennessee. Well, it was just reopening, and we were on Broadway in Nashville. And you can just imagine how many people were there. It was Labor Day weekend, and the lines. And we would find ourselves just going, oh my gosh, these lines, it's crazy. To be able to get in anywhere because of the virus, they have limited how many can come into organizations. And so some would only have 25 people that could get in the door. And then others, they had their numbers. And so the lines would get really, really long. So there comes a point of decision. Do you choose to stay in the line and just patiently wait your turn and just expect that, it is what it is? And that's kind of where I am. I'm one of those people that I will look for the best in things. Oh, it's nice and breezy out here. It feels so good, y'all. Fall is coming. But I will look for the good, and I will sit there and just, it's okay. It is what it is. This is what we're dealing with. But then there are times I can remember in my past where I get frustrated and I'd be grumpy, and I got to deal with that with my husband over the weekend, and he would just be so grouchy and, frustrated with the situation. So we would choose to not wait in the lines and then choose other things. And then we are being tested. We got tested all weekend long with that. And it brought to mind, patience and how we struggle with that. And, sometimes things are just the way they are. Patience is referred to as long suffering. And we find ourselves in situations in life where we have to go through things, and the suffering can be short, the suffering can be long. It depends on how long we are supposed to be in it to learn. Job lost everything in his life. If you look at him, his life looked miserable. To lose his entire family, to lose everything that he owned, yet he continued to trust God. And boy, did he suffer a long time. And he was there, but God restored him because he trusted him. He believed him. And then, let's see. I just had him in my mind and it just went out like that. It'll come back in a second. Paul suffered. And he says that he would be patient in his affliction because he knew that God had a plan for his life. He had asked for this thorn to be removed, whatever the thorn was. We don't fully know that, but he had asked, and God had him continue to go through that because he had a purpose for his life, a plan for his life. And I just wonder today, do you know the purpose that God has for your life? Do you understand that sometimes we have to walk through hardships? We have to go through things, and what it does for us, it reveals how much we trust God. Do you trust God? Are you patient with what you walk through? It renews our strength. Isaiah 40:31, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Can you say that about your life? Now, you trust God. A lot of times you have to walk through some really hard stuff to learn to trust God. And we are strengthened through it. We are also molded and we're refined in the fire. But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold. That's Job 23:10. Oh, to think that you can find positivity in what you're walking through, that you can find the silver lining, that you can find the good, because there is good in all things for those. What does it say in Romans 8:28? God can bring all things, good from all things. Y'all, you know what? This is one of my favorite verses. Yet every time I go to say it, I get tongue-tied, and it doesn't want to come out right. God brings good through all things for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And I think that is wonderful, that there can be good in every situation. But do we get grumpy and angry and frustrated, or do we find that good and give God the glory for it? My son Christian is actually on his way right now, or he's trying to be on his way. He's on his way to his next destination overseas, and he has already been at the airport a combined 13 hours and still has a couple more if he doesn't get delayed again. And he has been patiently waiting to get to his new location. He has been working on this for 7 long months to get there, and COVID has held him up. Hasn't COVID held us all up in some way? And I just got off the phone with him and I prayed for him, and I said, sometimes we have to go through these things because God has a purpose for them. And as I prayed, I said, thank you, Lord. Even right now, if you are protecting him and all of these other people from something that we don't even know, and yet they have to wait. As we come up on the anniversary of 9/11, it makes me think, for the many people that God rerouted, perhaps in traffic where we were frustrated, how we get frustrated in traffic. How many people were running late that day? How many people were frustrated because they couldn't get there for one reason or another? Yet God in his divine wisdom protected those people. He knew what was coming, and their story was not done. And how God has used those people, waiting helps us to appreciate our blessings, doesn't it? When we walk through stuff and we see, and hindsight is always 20/20, when you look back and go, oh, that's what God was doing. Well, until the time came to fulfill his dreams, the Lord tested Joseph's character. That's in Psalm 105:19. You have to walk through things. Joseph was not treated right. His brothers dumped him and said he was dead. They made his father think he was dead. They took an animal's blood and put it on Joseph's coat and brought it back to his father. Said he had been killed. You guys, Joseph had a difficult life, yet even imprisoned, he became the top guy, right? In the palace. He ended up becoming the top guy in the palace, and God used him in a mighty, mighty way to eventually serve his people, and his family was brought back together, and he loved them. He didn't persecute them for what they did to him. He recognized that God had a huge mission for him. You know, what is your mission? What are you supposed to be doing? What is God trying to teach you? As you walk through your life, I want you to think about that. What is God trying to do in your life? Even when we have to stand in a long line, even if we're stuck in a situation in our jobs where it seems like we're never going to get promoted, or we are in a family situation that just doesn't seem like it's going to get resolved. Thank God for it. Thank God even in your suffering that he is doing a mighty work in you, that he has a purpose and a plan for your life. Jeremiah 29:11, remember? It's a plan to prosper you and not to harm you, but to give you a hope and a future, like he did the people in Judah. You know, they were all separated for so long from home, yet God had a purpose and a plan, and that's what that talks about. That's where that comes from in Jeremiah, that the people had been evicted. You know, they'd been taken out of their homeland of Jerusalem, of Israel, and they were moved into Babylon, and they were stuck there for a long time, like 70 years they were stuck there in Babylon. Yet God told them through Jeremiah, he says, look, I don't mean you harm. I have a plan for your future. I have a good plan, but you got to trust me. And so they waited, and some never made it back to their homeland, but the next generations did, and they learned from what they went through. So I hope that this encourages you. If you struggle with patience, I get it. I'm constantly telling my son to be patient because he wants it now, because we live in this society that we want it right now, and I'm at fault too. We want it right now. But you know what? Sometimes there's pleasure in waiting when you can find peace in it, to know that God is up to something. And so I encourage you today to look at it that way, to be patient in your affliction, whatever it is, and to trust God and to know that he is the best for you. Love you, friends. Have a blessed day.